upon contribution, but the notion of sort of a political statement, which is almost oxymoronic, polite violence. What is the significance of that in understanding Rastafari's conversations with wider society? How important is understanding that concept within Rastafari?
Well, I think polite violence is Plano at his intellectual best. Oxymoronic is what we would think, but the sound of polite violence is so clear. And we also hear political violence as a part of the sound of what the phrase suggests. Now, the present moment we are in is classic. Yes. The feeling is that consistently violence is rained against us. We know it's violence, but it is done in various ways which are legally, the classic conversation that we could bring up is what Britain tells us about slavery. It wasn't a crime at the time, so there is no debt.
Exactly.
That's clear polite violence, and that's Plano's voice. It's how lucid his mind is in being able to call a spade a spade. That what Rastafari has endured over the period of its emergence is a series of polite violence. And he tells you, that it's hypocrisy that the society represents. When we come back to Africa, people behave as though they don't understand. But it's what Marcus Garvey had said before. And it's what you're bigging up Marcus Garvey for. But when we say it, it becomes absurd, disillusional, and escapist. So what he's clear about is a part of the violence that we receive as Rastafari is the fact is, why are we going to get rid of you? And you are clearly the element of our society that is fascinating and attractive. To what does it benefit us to get rid of this set of mad people or whatever it is? So the violence is consistent because you disregard us, you discredit the ideas that we hold and represent, and at the same time you will not release us. You will not in any way facilitate our removal, and that is the way polite violence perpetuates itself. So you do hurt, and you pardon yourself through legislation or language, and it continues. Squatting is a classic example. You ask yourself, what is that? How did I become a squatter, and how did you become the owner? And the violence starts. And all of this is in relation to power, and who is the hegemon, and that kind of thing. So the idea of polite violence, I think, is perhaps Plano's most succinct theory that says it all.
Right. Yeah. Now this book, I must tell you, it has 5 very compelling lectures, 4 lectures actually. One is more of a sort of an academic discourse on the contribution of Caroleani, documenting her process and documenting her movement from the 1970s through to the late 1990s, through to even the time of her passing in 2005, I think it was. This is an easy read, I must tell you. It's a complete page turner for me. I read this thing in like 2 days. Okay. And, it was the language is conversational. My sense of it is that for the person the student who wants an introduction to Rastafari, this becomes an important starting point for one to understand the scholarship of Rastafari as espoused by not only a Rastaman called Mortimer Plano, but also the preeminent thinkers of the Caribbean, including Professor Rex Nettleford, including Professor Barry Evans, including Sir Roy Auger, And this is what is compiled in this book here. And in 2010, you were one of the key organizers of almost a coming of age of the Rastafari conference that was held here on the UMONA campus. What was the significance of that 2010 conference and the contributions coming out from two of these scholars to that conference? What was the significance of that 2010 event in terms of bridging the gap between the understanding of Rastafari's interface with academia? How important was this a moment?
Well, 2010, in my mind, represented a moment where the university could effectively lead an important anniversary commemoration, and in so doing help to galvanize the energies of the Rastafari leadership in total in trying to look at significant memorial anniversaries and to approach them in a particular way. So the 50th anniversary of the report is actually the first of 3 50-year anniversaries. The second we've just had with the 50th anniversary of the Carl Gardens event, 1963, which was 2013 here. And then the next one is the 50th anniversary of the visit of His Majesty in 2016. These key symbolic events for Rastafari, I think, as reflected in this collection, are serious moments to think on historical and future interests. And in so doing, what we're able to do is there are many young persons in particular who come into this movement and read the mere anthropology and the mere history and don't understand how to locate themselves in purpose. This book gets straight to the purpose. What is it that Rastafari movement represents and stand for? What are some of those directions? How are those directions negotiated previously and in the future? And what are some of the objectives that we need to still monitor and master, which is what Siobhan's closing lecture tried to do. So I'm saying that, in a sense, this book is for more than a beginner. It assumes that it provides a prescription even. Okay, so you're interested in Rastafari and you've absorbed aspects of the culture. Well, now let us start with Africa. And what that is an instruction about orientation, about purpose, about self-development, about politics, and a range of things that emanate from that. The conference was correctly described by you as the launching pad for developing that orientation in preparation, thinking, and purpose, being able to galvanize the leadership in a way that achieves the things that we say we are here about.
This book, Let Us Start with Africa, condenses 50 years almost of lived Rastafari testimony in one easy-to-read volume. And certainly, as I've said, whether you're a beginner or you are farther along, this becomes an essential part of your bookshelf that you need to have. Thank you so much, Dr. Niaah, for sharing this time with us. This is a very interesting read, highly recommended. Even if you're not a student, if you want to get this for somebody who has even a passing interest, this is an important starting point. And I want to thank you for this contribution to the scholarship. I mean, it's really an impressive piece of work.
I thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge and thank the contribution made by the press in bringing this volume out in the way that we have done this. They have complied with our, directives about keeping the character of the conversations, and that was very important. the co-editor, Dr. Erin McLeod, has also, in fact, the title comes through her suggestion, and I think it was a brilliant decision in us all going with that. And, you know, just the sense that those who we brought together in this volume really represent voices that should be heard, not just on an occasion, which is what the delivery is, but we thought there were certainly things for future generations to share. And thank you, Opera Paul Thompson, for giving your all in this.
Yes.
Yeah, man, give thanks.
Yeah, man.